So these are the objectives of this topic. First, identify what is a broken line graph. Second, explore the brief history of a broken line graph. Third, identify the definition of terms being used. Fourth, differentiate the difference between the broken line graph and the line graph. Fifth, learn to solve and illustrate the broken line graph. And lastly, know the importance and uses related to broken line graph.
Displays pattern uses usually a factor of time, shows change in data over time. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all learn together the wonders of the broken line graph. To further elaborate these three phrases that I have just said, help me welcome our reporters for tonight.
A broken line graph is a diagram that has a horizontal axis divided into units of time and a vertical axis that displays the values of the qualitative characteristics that studied, in which the data recorded are represented by the points that are then connected to one another by segments to form a broken line that illustrates the evolution of the phenomenon under consideration.
Definition of terms. Broken line graph. A broken line graph is a diagram that has a horizontal axis. Line graph. A graph whose points are connected by a line or line segments to represent data. Data are plotted in such a grid and then connected with line segments. Graph. Used to identify the number of categories present in a graph. X-axis. The x-axis is the horizontal scale used in a graph. Y-axis. The axis of Cartesian coordinates.
As mentioned before, broken line graphs are variations of line graphs that are used when it is necessary to show a change over time. However, the key difference is that the plotted data does not create a line but a defined slope, unlike the common linear line graph, which has a constant slope all the way along it. The line graph employed varies from situation to situation.
So how to make a broken line graph? Easy. First step is to create the y-axis and the x-axis. X-axis is the axis that goes at the bottom. It's the one that goes across, while the y-axis is the axis that goes from bottom to top. So y-axis and the x-axis. Second is to label each axis, and the next is the writing scale that shows your intervals. And then plot the data using points, and then connect these points with a line. And lastly, write in your title. That's it. That's how you make a broken line graph.
Since you already understand what a broken line graph is, so now let's proceed in answering sample problems. In the first problem, the table shows the monthly average temperature in the Philippines last year in degrees Celsius. In the month of January, the temperature is 24 degrees Celsius, February 26 degrees Celsius, March 27 degrees Celsius, and so on. So, in order for us to create a broken line graph using the given data, first, we need to create the x and y axis. The independent variable belongs on the x-axis, which is the months January to December, while the dependent variable belongs on the y-axis, which is the temperature in degrees Celsius. So now, let's proceed in writing the scale. As you can see in the graph, I use the scale from 0 to 35 and I use 5 as an intervals. After that, let's now proceed in plotting the data using points. So plot the given data that shows in the table and then connect all those points. After connecting those points, we need to put a title in the graph. So the title is the average temperature in the Philippines. Also, in the graph, we can see how the temperature changes over the month. From January to May, the temperature increases. And starting from June to December, the average temperature decreases. However, August to September, the average temperature runs the same. So that will be all, and the next sample problem will be discussed by Hins Poleran.
For the second sample problem, Marian bought a new phone in 2015 for $12,999. The value of her phone changed each year as shown in the table below. In the table provided, you can see the value of the phone in peso from 2015 to 2020, and applying the steps in making the broken line graph and plotting the value in each year, you can see on the side the result. As we perceive, the graph shows the display trends of the values of Marian's phone from 2015 to 2020, and it reveals that after 2015, the points and line segments are continuously going down, making 2015 the highest value of Marian's phone. Then, after that, year by year, the value of the phone constantly decreases up until 2020. In addition, the highest decrease in the value of Marian's phone is from the year 2015 to 2016 and from 2019 to 2020. The price reduced by 1,499 pesos. On the other hand, the lowest is from 2016 to 2017, which reduces by only 750 pesos.
In conclusion, broken line graphs are constructed with the dependent data on a vertical y-axis and independent data is on the horizontal a-axis. Broken line graphs are used to track changes through time, short and long. Broken line graphs are important because they clearly display data variables and patterns, and they can help make predictions about the outcome of the data that not yet been recorded. They can also be used to show the relationship between multiple dependent variables and one independent variable. Broken line graphs are only effective when comparing data sets if the axes have the same scales. A single graph should have no more than 4 lines according to some experts, and more than that, it makes difficult to comprehend. Broken line graphs are used to show changes in data over time. They display trends or patterns and help us make predictions. In a broken line graph, markers are used to present amounts. These amounts are then joined together by straight lines. Markers can be dots, stars, or other representation on this graph.